Yesterday I shot a video about how not to use food in your life, right? How there are a lot of other entertaining things in our lives, and to focus on food, not only does it have the bad effects of focusing on food, but you're missing out on all the other ways to entertain your life. So I started controlling my binge eating at the beginning of 2020, and I can attest I'm actually happier than when I used to binge eat, because I discovered so many other entertaining events that I missed out because I was so busy eating. So I took up bowling about a year ago, and just the other night I scored a 220. When I started bowling, it was a big event if I scored a 3-digit score. The other night I scored a 220. My goal by the end of this year is to score at least one game of 250. I'm averaging about 160 nowadays. By the time I score that 250, I'll probably be averaging 200. But had I not taken time away from eating, I probably would have missed out on that, right? This past year, I also spent a lot of time living in small town America, right? Right now, I'm in a suburb of Phoenix. I spent some time living in Wallace, Idaho, in Lincoln, Montana, Missoula, Montana. You guys saw my other videos, right? Now, this video is going to be about what we should think of food as, right? If it's not entertainment, or at least not a big part of entertainment, what is food? And this video is going to answer that question. Last March, when we all got a crash course on how long we should wash our hands, how often we should wash them, how much distance we need to give people, right? How we shouldn't feel guilty about calling in sick to work. Last year, when we all got a crash course on that, I was very disheartened because I went to the grocery store and I didn't have any problems finding healthy foods. I had problems finding junk foods, right? All the shelves were empty. The beer aisle was completely empty except for Corona beer, because because in their drunken minds, right, people thought that Corona beer was associated with the coronavirus, right? Anyways, it was really saddening because I'm thinking to myself, these people are poisoning themselves and turning themselves into a vector for all sorts of disease. Right? I mean, it's bad enough when we don't have a pandemic on hand and you just want to give yourself cancer and heart disease. I think in a civilized world we should be free to do that. When there's a pandemic on hand, I think we need to do our best to keep our bodies away from being a vector of disease, right? People talk about how that, people should have the right to poison themselves. Oh yeah, if people are going to have the right to poison themselves and turn their bodies into vectors of disease, I think people should have even more right to go to their jobs, right? Even if they can't social distance at their jobs, right? Priorities, right? Unfortunately, we don't like to take responsibility for our health outcomes here in the United States, right? People don't want to associate the fact that they're eating crap with the idea that maybe they'll have a slower recovery from COVID-19. Oh no, it's just bad luck that they had a slow recovery from COVID-19, that they got COVID-19 multiple times, right? That they got it even after they took the vaccine, that, they died of COVID-19. All of that is bad luck. They have no control over that, right? I was just talking to a friend of mine who said he was early to get the vaccine because he had multiple risk factors. And I asked him what kind of risk factors he had. He looks pretty healthy. I wanted to be politically correct, right? I knew he didn't look very healthy, but I said, no, what kind of risk factor? You look pretty healthy. He said that the wording he used really made my heart sink. He said that he said that he's a smoker and that he's obese. And the way he said it basically meant that he resigned to the fact that he was a smoker and that he was obese, right? Had he said that he smokes a lot, well, he has control over that, right? But by saying he's a smoker, he's already designated himself to this category that he might not have control over. He said he's obese. I would have put it as I'm currently obese, right? But he said he's obese, as if he's born that way. That's his race. That's his identity. He has no control over it. And I know he doesn't want to be a smoker. He doesn't want to be obese. But his wording basically resigned all control over the situation, right? That's the kind of lifestyle that the average American loves to indulge in, right? They're whatever they are. They don't connect their choices in life to what they are. And if those choices cause them to have a higher risk factor for COVID-19, oh, so be it. They could just pop a pill, take an injection, get surgery, or in the worst case, they could end up in the hospital and die. Oh, it's just bad luck, right? And stop seeing it that way. Start taking control. Now, the problem is that here in the United States, taking control of your body often is not very popular. Often it alienates yourself from others, right? So a lot of times I'll go to a restaurant and I'll ask about ingredients in order to take control of my health outcome, right? Unfortunately, so let me give you an example. One of my favorite, one of the few restaurants I can go, fast food restaurants I can go to is Five Guys, but I gotta watch for milk products because I have autism and I know I've improved a lot ever since avoiding dairy. I know I have skin rash problems, but I don't want to bring that up when I go to Five Guys, especially if I'm going there with a colleague of mine, if there's a job interview and somebody's interviewing me there, or a first date. I don't want to bring up all sorts of medical problems that I could have that I'm controlling, right? So I'll just tell the waiter there, would you mind changing gloves before making the order? Now, in a civilized world, he would take his gloves off, put on new gloves, and then work on the fries, right? The problem is we don't live in that world. He wants to find out what exactly I'm allergic to, and, it's a conversation that really shouldn't need to happen in a civilized world, right? Can you imagine if you go to the pharmacy and the doctor writes on a prescription, right? You can take this drug or you could substitute it for some other drug. And you ask for a substitute because you know you have medical issues that works better with, right? And the doctor is allowing for that. Can you imagine if the pharmacist then digs into why you prefer that substitute? Does it make you feel better? Do you have an allergy to the earlier medication? Or can you imagine doing that? See, the way I see it, go into Five Guys and asking for certain ingredients to be avoided is almost like picking up a prescription and needing a special way of doing that, right? But a lot of Americans don't like to see it that way. They see food as their personal choice, and if that personal choice turns out to be the wrong choice, they're not responsible for the outcome. That's why we have drugs. See, I prefer to see that as a continuum, right? Everything you take into your body is a drug, right? And whether it has a good or bad outcome, you're responsible for it, right? You put it in your body, right? But unfortunately, a lot of people prefer not to see it that way, right? See, when was the last time during this pandemic you heard that maybe we need to eat in a certain way, eat better? I guess more lately they've been advising that maybe we need to quit smoking. At least the WHO has. But even that came a lot later than all the other things that we do to cover up our bad eating habits, right? Social distancing, wearing a mask, washing our hands, all of that just covers up the fact that we've poisoned our immune system to the extent of necessitating it, right? Now, having said that, in America, it's very difficult to take control of good health outcomes. I spent some time living in Taiwan. Over there, it's the other way around, right? People know that food is an extension of medicine. Unfortunately, people were very smug about it, and eating junk food there often gets a lot of criticism, right? I know that because I used to eat a standard American diet, right? I would go to Taiwan, and people, especially my family, but even perfect strangers, will criticize, right? And say how unhealthy it is, what kind of diseases it can cause. Here in the United States, you would never tell that even to a family member, right? But in Taiwan, you could tell that to a stranger. I think part of the reason is that obviously in Taiwan they have socialized medicine, so when somebody poisons themselves like that, it's kind of your problem as well. But I think they take it too far as well, right? My favorite place is a small town U.S., right? Wallace, Idaho, Lincoln, Montana. Oh my God, you could eat the way you want and be accepted for who you are, right? You could say no to food and that would be the end of the story. You could eat healthy, nobody's going to bother you. You can eat junk, nobody's going to bother you, although you might be responsible for your outcomes there. And spending some time in wellness, you would never have thought that we were in a pandemic, right? Because people take good care of their health, and the outcomes are pretty good, right? I mean, they certainly had cases, but not nearly as many deaths. But anyways, start thinking of food. Actually, it's the other way around. Start thinking of your medicine as an extension of food, right? If you eat crap, all that drugs and surgery and vaccines are going to be for naught, right? If you eat healthy, you might not need all of that stuff, right? Start thinking of it that way, right?